Hello guys, welcome to another video of Microsoft Azure. In today's video, we are going to discuss about recovery service vaults. Okay, we'll set up recovery service vault and we'll see how we can enable backups and site recovery for our Azure resources such as virtual machines, Azure file shares or databases. Okay, so here I am in a documentation page and you can see the definition of recovery service vault. Okay. A recovery service vault is a storage entity in Azure that houses data. The data is typically copies of data or configuration information for virtual machines, workloads, servers, or workstations. Okay, so you can use recovery service vaults to hold backup data for various Azure services such as virtual machines that can be Linux or Windows, SQL servers, or Azure file shares, or any other server or service, something like this. Okay, here we have some of the key features of recovery service vault, like soft delete, cross region restore, data isolation. Okay, you can go with this documentation if you need more details about other things. Now let's move to Azure portal and see how we can set up recovery service vault and how we can use and how we can basically do the backup and enable site recovery for our Azure services. Okay, so if you search the recovery service vault here, here is a option to create it. If you click on create, when here you can see a disaster recovery and data protection strategy keeps your business running when unexpected events occur. Get started by creating a recovery service vault. So in short, we can say like we can use recovery service vault to enable the backup and site recovery for our Azure resources. Okay, so suppose you have some virtual machine in North Europe region and some because of some issue region goes down or something happened, and if you have enabled site recovery or uh, backup of that virtual machine in West Europe region using the recovery service vault, you can always restore your virtual machine even when your North Europe region is down, because the data will be there in the West Europe region that will be basically replicated in West Europe region as well. Okay, so now let me create a recovery service vault. Here you provide all the details, subscription, resource group. I'll provide the details, something like this. This is my resource group and name of the recovery service vault. Let me provide something like this. You can follow your naming convention, or if you can follow the your organization naming convention as well if you are working for some organization. You can select the region. Make sure these regions should not be same as your resource region. So suppose your resource is in East US region, then the recovery service vault should be in another region, suppose in West US, because if you are keeping recovery service vault in same region, if North East US is down, then even your recovery service vault will go down along with your virtual machines or file shares. So make sure you are keeping this in different region where your virtual machines are there. If you click on I, select a location where recovery service vault metadata should be stored. Okay, so you will always have to select the different region here. Now let me click on next. Here you can select the redundancy, that is backup storage redundancy, that should be geo redundant, locally redundant, or zone redundant. Basically, if you need high availability or you are doing or creating recovery service ball for production, I will advise you to select the geo redundant because locally redundant and zone redundant, these are not highly available. In case of region failure, this will these both two will go down. Okay, but in case of geo redundant, your replica or your backup will be stored in different region, so that even if some region or that particular region is down, your data will be there in uh, redundant region. Okay, here you can enable cross region restore. If you want to enable it, you can enable. If you are enabling it, then you can restore data your resources even if the backup is in different region. Let me click on next encryption. You can use the encryption type. You can either provide your key, that is customer managed key, or you can use Microsoft managed key as well, which is a default one. Okay, you can enable immutability here in Vault properties. If you want to enable, you can enable, or you can keep this as default. If you need more details, you can see here immutability. If enabled here, will be reversible and can be disabled using the false properties after its creation. Okay, let me go to the important properties, which is nothing but networking. So you can use two types of networking here. One is the default one, which is allow public access from all networks, and the next one is deny public access and allow private access only. So if your organization is following this technique or strategy to disable public access in all of their resources, you can always use this deny public access and allow private access, so that this recovery service vault will be accessible only from the specific virtual network and subnet. Okay, here you will have to create the private endpoint, so that using that private endpoint, your Azure services such as virtual machines or file shares will be able to communicate with this recovery service vault using this private endpoint. For that, you can just click on add, and this will ask you to create the private endpoint. You will have to provide the things like location, name. So suppose you provide then some name for your private endpoint. Target sub resource you will have to select. You can select, or you can create basically two types of private endpoint here in the recovery service vault. One is for backup and another one is for site recovery. Okay, so if you are using just the Azure backup, you can create the private endpoint just for Azure backup. If you are using site recovery, you can do only for site recovery. But if you need to use both of them, Azure backup and Azure site recovery, you will have to create two private endpoints. Okay, one is for Azure backup and another one is for Azure site recovery. Here you will have to select your virtual network. Once you have selected, here you will have to add the subnet as well. So from this subnet only, your uh, private in this subnet, your private endpoint will be created, and here you will have to create NSG rules to and from this subnet. Here you can integrate this with private DNS zone, so that your recovery service vault will work smoothly. For that, you will have to private specify the DNS zone names, something with the name of this. If these are already exist, you can select the existing ones. If not, they will be created newly. Okay, if you just click on OK, one of the private endpoint will be added here. Let me discard it because we will be creating with the public access from all networks just for the demo purpose. But I just showed you how you can create a recovery service vault with private endpoint as well to connect this service vault from your virtual network without public access or denying the public access. You can add the tags and finally review plus create. This will validate and it will give you an option to create it. Okay, so this will submit the deployment to create recovery service vault, and within few seconds or maybe in minute or couple of minutes your service vault will be created. Our recovery service vault has been created. Now let me click on go to resource, so it will take me to the recovery service vault. Okay, so here you can see the overview, backup and site recovery details. Okay, basically you can see the UI, how many alerts are there, how many backup jobs are running, and other details here in this tab. And you can see here about the site recovery details. Okay, and you can create the backup from here. You can enable site recovery from here. If you want to delete this recovery service vault, we can delete it from here. Okay, let me explain other properties as well, like here in settings and other things. Then we will see to create one backup and enable site recovery as well. If you click on identity, you can see you can enable system assigned identity or user assigned identity. This user assigned is still in preview. You can either attach user assigned identity or you can use system assigned identity as well for this recovery service ball to uh, attach identities and assign permission for an to any other particular resource. Okay, from here you can manage networking, you can enable private access or you can deny public access from here. Okay, you can see the properties here. You can now create the backup and you can now create the site recovery as well. We'll see these after explaining all the things. Okay. You can see here about the backup items detail and replicated items. You'll see how many backups are created for virtual machine, for backup agent and other things. Same is for the replicated items as well. Okay, you can create the replica of your Azure virtual machines in some different region. If you want to create backup policies, you can create it from here. So let me click on add and see how we can create the backup policy. So suppose you want to create the policy for Azure virtual machine. You will have to select the policies type, that is standard or enhanced. Let me select the enhanced. You can select the policy name and you can add the backup schedule, when your backup should start and uh, with what interval. Okay, you can specify all these details based on your requirement and you can create this backup policy. So the backup will be created or will be running automatically at that particular time. Okay, here if you want to backup your infra, you can enable this backup infrastructure and you can create this. Okay, like this you can do the you can manage or you can manage your site recovery infrastructure here in this portal. This is for Azure virtual machines. Okay, this is here you can create the replication policy as well for them, and you can manage other things. You can see the backup reports here, and again you can see the alerts, metrics, and if you want to create the alert for your recovery service vault for some of the metrics, you can always create it from here. You can see here the backup jobs, which are the backup jobs running or they are completed. Same is the case for site recovery jobs as well. You can see the backup alerts here, and you can see site recovery events here. Okay, to export the template, you can click on export template. Let me now go to overview and try to create a backup. So here you will have to create your backup. First, you will have to provide where is your workload running. So that can be Azure on premises or Azure Stack Hub as well. So you can create the backup for your Azure premises servers as well. So let me select the Azure, and what do you want to backup? You can either backup virtual machine, Azure file share, SQL servers in Azure VM, or SAP HANA in Azure VM. So let me select the virtual machine and click on backup. So once you click on backup, you will have to select the policy subtype, standard or enhanced. For standard, you can see the definition here. Once a day backup up to 5 days operational tier retention. For enhanced, you get some extra features as well, so you can select this based on your requirement. You can see the backup frequency here and other things. And finally, you will have to add your virtual machine here and click on OK. We don't have any virtual machine as of now, so I am not selecting it. Once your VM is selected and you enable backup, it will enable the backup for your virtual machine, and your virtual machine will be backed up automatically without any intervention. Okay, same is the case with site recovery as well. You can click on enable site recovery, and you can enable replication for your virtual machines, VMware machines to Azure, or Hyper-V machines to Azure. So if you want to enable replication, you can click on there and you can select all these things. Okay, click on next. You'll have to select your virtual machine here. So once you have selected your virtual machine, you can click on next, and you can click on replication setting. Replication is nothing but creating the replica of your resource in some different region. Okay, so suppose your virtual machine is in East US region. Replication will create replica of your virtual machine in West Europe region, so that even if East US region in down, your virtual machine will be available in different region. Okay, so for that you can create the replication like this. Let me go back. So we have almost covered everything about the recovery service vault in brief. Okay, so that's it from this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe my channel. If you have any feedback or suggestions, please let me know in the comments. We'll see about recovery service vault in detail in upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.